So one day I came across this post on Facebook. It was in one of the Facebook community groups, which was basically for developers and agencies who come together and probably look for a project and share knowledge between one another. So this particular guy had a project requirement for a website which he needed, which involved a membership sign-up fee in order for his clients to join the community and use it as their platform. Now he had a specific instruction to post if you were an agency or a freelancer is to put in your portfolio and how much it would cost to build a website that he required. Now what was funny was when people started commenting their website and their portfolios and their costs, what threw me off was the price range that they were giving off. You had agencies putting a price point starting at $1,500. You had one freelancer putting a price point at $500. You had a couple of bunch which was just crazy enough that would cost only about $100. And funny enough, there were a few so-called developers who thought were smart enough to give an advice that they could build this website on a do-it-yourself website, just like Wix. Going back to my main point, I'm going to share you the knowledge and experience that I've had in the past in how to look for the right developer for your website project. I'm going to give you 3 simple guides in how to look for the right developer for your website project. So number 1, prior to even looking for a developer, you really need to put in the scope of the project. If you don't know how to be technical about your website project, all you can do is find references or at least explain in layman's terms what the scope of the project requires. So if your project deals with something that's a little complicated, make sure that you have every note, every bullet points added to the project in order for a developer to come up with the right price range or development cost for your project. If you do have an idea about the scope of your project and you have no idea on how to deal with it in the technical terms, then you could find someone who could actually consult you, and that should be an actual web developer or a webmaster who could actually advise you on what features you'll need for your project. Number 2, once you have the whole technical requirements and the complete scope of your website project, now it's time for you to actually do a bit of research in order to look for the right developer. And when I mean developer, that could mean either hiring a freelancer or an actual agency. So I'm going to give you a tip on where to start. The very first place I would look for is actually look for any local developers within my area. So if I were in a particular city anywhere in the world, I would much rather prefer to look for developers within my area, within reach, within contact, in order to hire them for my project. And the very reason for this is because if in the future you'll need to add or modify or require a particular task from that developer, then they're actually close by or nearby in order to get in touch with them. I'm going to give you a tip on where to look for developers. There are websites just like Upwork, freelancer.com, eLancer, online jobs, and many of those. A lot of those sites involve researching, filtering the right developer for you, but there's so many developers out there that you wouldn't know what to choose or look for. So this process really takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort just to look for the right one. And you tend to interview the ones that you've looked for. But this is just a temporary process that you need to go through. But once you got the ball rolling, then things get a little bit easier. Now with number 3, let's say you found the right developers, the right agencies, the right freelancers, and you narrowed it down to 10 options that you can pick from. Now in that 10 options, they're gonna provide a quote, a price point, a price range based on your requirement, and probably add on special features that you didn't know about that could benefit you and your website project. The number 1 key factor here to get down to the one developer that you want to work with is actually price point. All their portfolio looks good, all their services seems legit and professional, and now what you need to deal with is the price point. On my personal experience, basing price points on a particular project that you know that has a lot of value, the way I would do it is actually look at the very lowest price point and the most expensive price point. and actually do a comparison between all the 10. With those price points then comes in to actually where your budget fits. If your budget can fit the most expensive price point, then I would actually go for the most expensive one. If your budget is shy below the most expensive developer, then it's time for you to narrow down into the center and see where you're more comfortable in terms of your budget. Once you put out in the negotiations that this is what I want to work with in terms of budget, then it's actually time for these developers to actually give a proposal whether or not they would accept this budget range of yours. Once you find the right budget range for your project, then it's time for you to actually go with that developer. I'm pretty sure with all these 10 developers that are offering you a particular price point for your project, you could actually narrow it down to 5 in which you will need to decide on who would provide the best customer and technical service. So that is the second thing that you need to compare after comparing the price range that you got. How do you find the most qualified developer for my project? You will need to compare the way they coordinate. And I know this sounds a bit funny, but you'll need to work with the actual developer that you feel that there's a certain chemistry that works between you and the developer. Most of the times, clients deny the most qualified developers because they're not in the same page as they are with the developers that is the most qualified, and tend to actually steer to the developer that has a great relationship with the client. Now, not all clients really look for this chemistry that works. A lot of clients are really technical about their projects. Now, based on my experience working with a developer with a great character and personality, which build a really good relationship between myself and them, actually got my project to launch date with no headaches at all. And the reason for this is that once you develop a great relationship with a developer that you chose, then things come into fruition the way you would expect it to come. I hope that helps you out when looking for a developer for your project. And when things get a little rough, just looking for the right developer, remember, always look for the developer that has a great personality and who can build a great relationship between you and them during negotiations and during development of your website. Thank you for watching, and I hope you like it. Make sure you subscribe to get the latest video and updates every week. If you got any questions about websites, make sure you hit me up on all major social medias at Philippe Soriano.